We made over 337k in just 2 months using this exact email SMS strategy, adding almost $2 million to top line revenue for this e-commerce brand. And I'm about to show you everything that we're currently doing for this brand inside of their Cleve account, so you can take our strategies, implement them for your brand, and profitably scale it. And look, you can go watch other YouTube videos, but nobody's showing you behind the scenes and inside of the Cleve account like I'm about to do right now. So make sure that you follow all of the strategies I'm about to lay out, follow through, implement them for your brand, and let's get right into it. As you can see, first of all, some proof. I'm just gonna refresh it very quickly so you see it's not, fake dashboard whatsoever. But this brand during those 2 months, which is also pretty fresh because it's April 2025 to the end of the May 2025, this brand made an 862k total revenue. Over 370k was from email alone. Most of that was coming from the flows, most of that was coming from email, but a big part came from SMS as well, which is very important because when we took over, this brand wasn't doing anything for SMS marketing at all, and we just added 40k MRR for them by implementing our strategies. If I scroll down a bit and go to the flows, of course, the most of the revenue is coming from the welcome flow, both email and SMS. But look, I know that this is going to be like, okay, we are showing a case study, but actually, almost half of that is coming from the welcome flow. But it is for a reason, because we actually have been optimizing this welcome flow for quite a long time. Recently, actually, mainly the pop-up rather than the welcome flow. So if you stick through, I'm about to show you at what exactly we did to pretty much double their welcome flow revenue month over month by changing this one thing. But then looking at the other flows, it's going to be about card and checkout, card recovery system dialed in for sure. Over 56k coming from those two flows alone. Then window shoppers, which is one of our flows that we like to use, like a little trick, I would say. This one is based on the segment, which is triggered whenever someone is very active, both with the email and with the store, but they're not in any of the abandonment flows. So we're kind of, capturing this moment of them being engaged. And instead of waiting like 30 days for them to get another browse abandonment flow, we're triggering a different one with high intent emails to make sure they convert. Then customer thank you flow, we're not really selling a lot there, but we have a few bounce back emails, that's important. Post purchase one, so this is more of a cross sell flow, which is doing pretty well, as you can notice. Then side abandonment, then just like a transactional emails, so out for delivery, and then customer win back. Of course, we have other flows as well, but these are the ones that are making most of the revenue, to be honest. We also have a 1-year anniversary flow, but for this brand, the lifespan of the product is very short, usually like 3 to 6 months. Then people just don't need the product. So this is why, pretty much the 1-year anniversary flow isn't that useful, because this is baby niche, so or kids niche. So if your kid is 1 year older, then most likely they're not gonna need the product when they're in the growing stage, because in 1 year from now, it was gonna be outdated. Okay. Then for the campaigns, we had actually quite a few of these, that decent numbers. So I'm about to show it to you. But first of all, I just kind of wanted to show you actual growth month over month, because what is also important for this brand, and just like FYI, this is the tool we're using for ourselves, like internally, we custom coded it, so you can't get it anywhere. But I just wanted to show you actual growth coming out of Q4, because most brands really focus on growing in Q4, and they think that, okay, like Q4 is gonna be our best month ever, and this brand thought so too, right? But then, November was fairly decent. We still made them 100k from Klaviyo, so still fairly nice. December was a bit of a dip, which is okay, and then in January things started picking up once again, and as you can see, May is their best month so far. I mean, we made them twice as much revenue as we made in November, which is quite unheard of. But yeah, this is what happens when you have actually good strategy for emails. And just to show you the store growth as well, so it's not only that email that's been growing, but store revenue as well, which is the most important thing, because you can have very nice email revenue, but if your store is not growing month over month, then you're probably doing something wrong, which might be, not even email related. It might be ads, it might be creative, cash flow, inventory, anything else. It's just very important to know that whenever you have all of those in place, but you don't have the right email strategy, scaling will be hard. But with emails, I mean, you can see for yourself, like month over month, the brand is pretty much growing. Right now, they're about to, hit like 500k next month, and probably we're gonna be at like 1 mil per month early next year, which is crazy to think of. But again, this is what happens when you have the right email strategy. So now the foundation of the whole strategy is gonna be deliverability. Our deliverability is super on point. You can see 70-60% open rate on all of our campaigns. Even if I go to campaigns and then I just select custom range from April to to the end of May, you can see that for pretty much all of our campaigns, like we're getting 60% open rate on fairly broad segments. So again, deliverability is the core of everything, because of bad deliverability, you just have very hard time getting good results for this brand. I'm also about to show you time frame here, because again, open rate is the most important element of an email strategy. And you can see it right there. Our welcome flow generates 77% open rate. Click order rate and place order rate, they will be a bit different, mainly because of how we're tracking some of the clicks. Plus also, sometimes there's gonna be overlap with the pop-up, which in our case, it includes the discount code. So that's why the place order rate might be a bit higher right there. But again, the email itself, super simple, super straightforward really. Nothing complicated, like everything I always talk about. It's gonna be logo, header, subheader, with the code, button, that's it. Very short introduction to the brand, once again, button, and really that's really it. Important thing to note is that we had an offer here which was 10% off above $45, because their AOV was around like 35 or so. So us increasing the the threshold to $45 and then giving them 10% off is still gonna give you AOV of $41, sorry, which is still gonna be like $6 higher than what they had initially, pretty much like 15% higher, so very nice. Then we've been testing quite a lot for the other flows for the structure, but then we are introducing the founders and the welcome flow, so kind of talking about the story. Then we talk about our USP, so why our products are being done differently, and a simple comparison table really does wonders. Like you can see right there, like it's super simple, just us versus them, like straight up, call to action, that's it. And email's doing fairly decent because that's email number 3 and still is making some decent sales, and so on and so on. Then we have also like an extra email just to push the welcome code once again, kind of remind about it, plus a bit longer USPs mixed with the reels, and then FAQs, right? So FAQs super important, even though it's a low ticket product, people still have questions, so just straight up answer them. Have an email actually answering 3 of your most common FAQs, and it's gonna print. And then last call for the discount, they always do great, that's why we always have them. In this case, we went with the design-based format because their deliverability is super on point. As you can see, open rate of over 60% on email number 6 is pretty much unheard of. But again, for this brand, like I don't want to take full credit. They already had very good deliverability when we took over, so we didn't have to fix anything. Their deliverability was already very good, right? So that's like, shout out to them, because it's really rare that you see someone have very good deliverability, and I rarely see the case where I don't need to fix any pretty much of the deliverability thing, which is really good, right? Because then again, it allows us to do a bit more things a bit differently and just scale faster. For SMS, this is what we're doing, so super short and simple. Welcome to the company name, here's your gift, welcome code, auto implemented at checkout, so they even need to use it, and then follow up 1 day later. Again, like just reminding you about the discount and whatnot. Nothing too complicated really, just super simple stuff. Then for abandoned cart and checkout, both of these have pretty much the same emails inside of them. So again, we're kicking off with the very fast SMS, just right away for anyone that can actually receive it. For other people, we're having the abandoned checkout flow, and again, you can see discrepancy between click and place order rate, again because of how we're tracking clicks, using a bit of different system, excluding bot clicks and whatnot. But then again, super simple, just reminding about the cart, showing them what they're missing out on. And in this case, we didn't have a dynamic section because the store mainly has one product, so we can just showcase it like that and people are gonna know what it is, right? Just like in this case, that's why dynamic section was not needed. Then we're in the second email, we're giving them 10% off right away, right? Very simple. And then a bit of an urgency. So, this is a plain text one talking about products being potentially out of stock, which is partially true because this brand has low stock on quite a lot of their products. So, and also like we're triggering or tackling right there most common objections. And this is usually what you want to do because people, when they check out, they have like multiple objections. So make sure you just, tackle them right away. And then for the 4th email, final reminder, again in a design-based format, so a bit differently than we're doing it usually, but again, We always have frameworks and we don't always follow them for all of our clients, because then we take this framework and we custom tailor it to what we actually need. And this flow has 4 emails, and as you can see, it's printing quite crazy. And for the last email, we have especially 12 hours delay instead of 24 hours, just because we want to build up the urgency a bit more. If we have an email talking about stock being low, and then we have last call for the discount code 12 hours later, it just converts a crazy, which you can see right now. And then, I'm not gonna show you all of the flows because probably that would bore you, but for the window shoppers one and then post-purchase ones, I feel like these are the 2 most important ones for this brand, aside from the other ones. So again, same thing with the clicks and place order rate, kinda can't track it, but we're really focusing on the placed order only for them really. And again, this is gonna be triggered off of the segment that we're using for them. So can receive a marketing is a complete non-buyer, so not a customer, but they have either clicked an email, been active on the site, or viewed product at least twice in the last 30 days. And then they haven't been in our browsers or site abandonment flows where they should be, right? Because they triggered those. So we're excluding them from these. And then we have a flow filter as well for placed order, so that to make sure that whenever they purchase from the first email or whatever, they're not gonna be getting the subsequent emails in the flow. Email number 1 converting at 2%, so which is very, very good. Talking a bit of an authority angle about lactation consultants recommending this product, talking about the USPs and whatnot. Super simple, super short. Then we're talking about the pretty much best-selling products, just in case they really don't know what to choose, where to start. We're directing them to the best sellers, and then obviously showing the reviews and social proof as well, which works great. And then FAQs once again. I know I'm actually showing you quite a lot of FAQs in this account, but the truth is that we have FAQs pretty much in every single flow, I believe, pre-purchase flow. And again, that's for a reason. Like, it just works super well addressing those FAQs. It works pretty well. Like, of course, not as good as the first email, but still converts 0.5% of all recipients, which is fairly nice. It's not a complete game changer, but if we're talking about taking an account and optimizing it to 40% plus revenue coming from email, this is really what it takes, just to those small things that really add up and make this revenue. Now for the post-purchase flow, we're testing the order of those emails as in like what content we're sending, because in general, this flow is being triggered 15 days after someone purchases, just because again, like, we have a very short and limited window for when we can convert those people. Usually it's gonna be between 3 to maximum 6 months, but 6 months is like absolute maximum, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to cross-sell them faster within 15 days, because first of all, they're still in the buying mode, like more or less. They can still, buy the products because they bought them fairly recently. They remember the brand. They just received them, and we know that the product is good, so we know they're gonna enjoy it. Plus, it's gonna help this brand maximize their short-term AOV or LTV in this case, but also cash flow. It really helps them with cash flow. So this is what we're doing. We're having 3 different offers for post-purchase people, trying to see which one works best. Okay, so this email, it has a dynamic section of showing products that are gonna match their purchase. So in this case, we're not giving an offer at all. Then we're talking about hygiene. So like, not an offer, but we're talking about like why you need more than one and why it is important to maintain your right hygiene or switch up the product to the new one to make sure that your baby is gonna be safe. Plus we have an offer for multi-packs. So instead of trying to push 1 pack, we're pushing 2 and 4 packs. Again, just to maximize the LTV. And then the third email is gonna be about the actual offer. So we're gonna give you them free for 35, which is a very good angle. And then 1 more email talking about, okay, how many of those products do you actually need? And then we're pushing 4 packs as well, just to make sure we're selling even more. And then promoting the best selling color, because we know that this one is really just the best selling one. So we can even see that the whole email has the theme of this color as well. It kind of features it because, again, we know it works great, and if someone is a customer already, they trust the brand, it makes sense for them to buy this. So again, you have 1 pack, 2 pack, 4 pack, and of course in all of our emails we have collection links and then USP icons in the footer with the logo and whatnot. So again, it's working pretty well. We've been testing some other stuff as well, but right now these are the emails we're using in this flow specifically. But what we've done in the second path is we're testing the offer as the first email, so straight up, and then the other email as email number 3. So right now it's not really working that well, as you can see, because I mean, okay, it may be looking like it's working well if you look at the first email, but if you look at the third one, this one's not really selling much. Now this one's selling a bit less, and this one's also selling less. So my point is that in this case, if I were to like read the data, I would say like, okay, if someone gets the offer email and they don't purchase, they're usually not that likely to purchase. But in the first case, if they get the first email without an offer and they purchase, that's fine. If don't, we have the other emails where we introduce the discount and actually make them sales. But I still think that even with the first email performing so well, if we were to add up all of the revenue from all of those other emails, I still believe that the result would be quite similar. I think actually the offer first approach might do a bit better. But again, this is like a fairly new test that we launched for them, fairly fresh. So honestly, I haven't been analyzing it much because again, it's just fairly fresh. So I would say that's it for the flows. As you can see, those really generated most of the revenue. They're responsible for the majority of the revenue. But then let's talk about the campaigns a bit, because in terms of that, we're doing 3 to 4 campaigns a week. Really, we're sending a lot for this brand. And that just makes sense. Even if you look at our segments, we're targeting pretty broad segments. Usually it's gonna be engaged 180 or even engaged 365. We obviously had the Memorial Day sale as well. Nothing wrong with sales like in general. I know that a lot of brands or people are scared to talk about sales, like, hey, if you're on a sale and make sales, it's a bad thing. But not really. Like, for this brand, even though they're making sales, the AOV they're getting from this from these sales usually is still gonna be higher than their evergreen funnel one. So that still makes sense. And for the other segment, we're also targeting recent buyers up to a year. And I know that it's still not ideal because usually, most of the people are gonna be the fresh buyers, like recent ones. But sometimes again, those people buy as well. In this case, the best performing buyers group were people from that bought in the last 1 to 3 months. And then most of the revenue was coming from our engaged segments, which again is usually the case. What we like to see as well as the pretty much even split between revenue from buyers and non-buyers, because again, it just means that we're converting both of the groups, right? So we're converting both buyers and non-buyers. As you can see, non-buyers have actually higher click rate than buyers, but that's mainly because non-buyer segment for this brand specifically is a smaller one, which is not always the case, to be completely honest. For most brands, it's gonna be the other way around, where most of the revenue or like the bigger part of the list are gonna be buyers. But for this brand is a bit different, mainly because we also convert quite a lot of people through our flows, right? So it just makes sense to have a split like that. Also just want to show you the split for the revenue for one of our bigger campaigns. Again, most of that is coming from non-buyers, which is a very good thing. Of course, buyers are buying as well, but again, most of that is coming from buyers, from non-buyers, sorry. And one more thing I wanted to talk about is the segmentation, because a lot of people will be like, yeah, you can't be blasting your entire list. You should be targeting small segments and be super personalized with messaging. But the truth is that not really, at least for this account, what we've seen is making sure that we target as many people as we can. And our open rates are pretty high all the time. Okay, click rate is not the greatest, I'll give you that. But if you look at click to order rate, this is insane, like a very high click to order rate ratio, which is very good because it means that whenever someone clicks, they're actually very likely to buy. So emails also do a decent job of converting those people. And that's also why you need to be always focusing on the revenue as your primary metric, rather than focusing on stuff like click rate or anything else. Like open rates are important, that's for sure, just because they are giving you an indicator of deliverability. But for click rates, really, like if you have a bad click rate, but good sales, like I'll take it every time rather than taking, good click rate but poor sales. And I've seen accounts with very high click rate, but they're barely making any sales just because they're getting some empty clicks and not pre-selling or pre-qualifying those people on the purchase. So that's why, again, we're always looking at the revenue as a total, as a whole, rather than clicks alone, because if you look at click to place order rate, it's looking very good, very healthy, and that's what matters in the end, which is how much revenue you're making, not with zero click rate. Okay, so again, this is, I know, a bit of a controversial strategy. Target pretty much all of our segment, not all of our segments, but most of your list, and go as broad as possible. This is my approach, and it seems to be working pretty well for this brand. Even though when some campaigns are really meant to be sent to non-buyers or to buyers, we still like to include the other group, because look, like, first of all, you still have the email anyways. You know that the open rate for both segments is gonna be good, and maybe some of them will buy, right? Like in this case, maybe let's assume that if the campaign was targeted only towards non-buyers, they would make 2K revenue, great. But what if we added buyers as well and they made up another 500 or 1K? It would increase your revenue for this specific campaign by like 20 to 50% just by including the same segment or it's like some other segments. And yes, I know this is maybe not the perfect way to do it because those people might want to have a different experience. But of course, I'm not talking about like welcome code resends to be like, hey, if you have never tried us, it doesn't make sense to send this campaign to buyers. But if you're talking about reviews, USPs, Mythbusters, anything else really that makes sense, even FAQs, I would just plug in buyers as well or the other segment and send to them as well, because again, this is how you maximize revenue per campaign. But now enough of that, let me cover one more very important thing, which is gonna be a list growth. So it may seem crazy if I show you these numbers, but our sign-up rate for this brand is actually 34%, right? I know this is crazy, but again, don't go wild over this. I'm just gonna let you right now that the case where we're seeing such a high opt-in rate is very rare. Like if you want to have such a high submission rate, you need to do all of the elements perfectly, which is have a lot of traffic, have the right offer, the perfect timing, and a bit of a luck. Like to be completely honest, and also have a pop-up that doesn't impact their total sales, right? Because this is another important thing. But again, don't aim for 30%, you won't do it. I'm telling you right now, this is like literally our only client that has an opt-in rate of almost 35%. We don't have any other ones, so like full transparency, don't aim for this number because you'll go crazy trying to do it. But with Alia, which is also what I recommend, you can easily get to 10-15% opt-in rate, which is gonna also give you a huge edge for your welcome flow. And this is when I want to talk about the welcome flow, because at the beginning I also mentioned that again, this is the biggest part of is making up the biggest part of the revenue out of any other flows, and this is why. Okay, so this is why their pop-up is performing insanely well. 35% opt-in rate for email, for SMS almost 30%, so not a big drop-off. This is exactly what we like to see. And then also attributed sales are looking very good as well, almost 340K. Again, this is why there might be some overlap between this app and the revenue we're seeing in Klaviyo. But the conversion rate for people that opt in and then purchase from the brand is 40%, which is crazy. Okay, and just to show you the impact, I've been doing it manually for this brand. So in this case, we had this opt-in in Klaviyo. I'm also gonna show you because why not? But we had it in Klaviyo, which was also doing fairly decent. I mean, it wasn't terrible. If I select mobile analytics, it was like 10% or something. So again, not too crazy. Let's maybe select February to March. It was converting at 10%, so still fairly decent. But the revenue coming from, I don't remember the exact period I was doing it for, I believe it was like 1 month or so. But in 1 month, the revenue from mobile pop-up was 57K. Lead to sale ratio, which is how many new subscribers purchase from you, was 29%. For desktop, it was almost 40% because the pop-up was exit intent, so it makes sense. But the revenue was a bit lower. But the average lead to sale ratio was 30% for them. So this is the average. You can see also the formula. We're adding up the orders, then we're dividing it by added up submits, and this is the lead to submit ratio that we had for Klaviyo for our pop-up. But this data is for Alia. So our submission rate pretty much tripled, right? We got 33% for the period that I was doing this reporting for. Revenue was 155K, so almost 3x of what we had here. But lead to sale ratio was higher as well. What does it mean? Well, it means that we not only have almost 3 times more subscribers coming in, over 3 times more subscribers, but our lead to sale ratio is also higher by like 20%, I believe, which is crazy because you have more new people signing up and more of those subscribers turning into paying customers. And this is again from our, dashboard reporting or whatever. This is the data for the pop-up in Klaviyo, where the welcome flow, this is welcome flow revenue only. Welcome flow made 52K in revenue. Okay, we didn't change offer or anything. And then the welcome flow with Alia pop-up and her submission rate did 71K revenue, which is just wild. The open rate dropped a bit, that's for sure. But I mean, if you're increasing the volume by so much, it makes sense that it will be a bit lower. But if you look at the net opens or like total opens, it's pretty much doubled as well. Okay, same goes for clicks. The click rate dropped a bit, yes, but still 9.4% is crazy click rate for welcome flow, and total clicks 2K more clicks as well, so that's super important as well. And again, a place order rate and click to order rate for the welcome flow, they dropped as well, but the volume, which doubled, is making up for all of that, right? So we made them 20k more revenue from the welcome flow month over month, and this is email only. It doesn't include SMS, it's email only. So yeah, it's like gonna be what, like 40% improvement, and you can even look at the graph here where, you know, it started trending up very, very nicely. Obviously there's gonna be always up and downs depending on the seasonality and day of the week, but still the revenue growth was insane. 40% month over month growth for the welcome flow revenue, not including the revenue coming from Alia. So again, this is why it's working so well. And the pop-up itself is also super simple, which I can show you right now, which is gonna be let me just very, very quickly show it because we're running some test. Okay, it's not gonna show up right now. So let me maybe show you right here. Super simple pop-up talking about the Mr. Discount. We're asking like, okay, how old is your baby? We're collecting email, phone number, giving them the reward, and to, you know, asking them to shop now, to click the email they received. So again, converting very nicely. This was a huge boost for them in terms of the email revenue. And again, this is pretty much the exact case study on how we added almost 337k in extra revenue for this brand in just 2 months. If you are an e-com brand yourself, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned quite a lot, you know, a lot of strategies that you can take and implement for your brand. But if you on the other hand want us to manage your emails, like completely done for you, do everything for you, which is gonna be deliverability, list growth, flows, campaigns, strategy, you know, retention, other like advanced retention strategies as well, there's gonna be a link below this video. Just hit it, schedule a call with me, we're gonna have a quick chat. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it and talk to you soon. Cheers.